Futures now, old man.
What it do, RookieHQ? This is the Future First podcast where we are helping you win today with the Future First mindset. I'm your co-host J-Mac here with my co-host Jose. What's going on, dude?
What's up, J-Mac? I'm good, man. Just about to get into these rookies. It's rookie season, rookie fever over here on the RookieHQ channel. But how you been, man?
I'm good, man. Yeah, I'm getting the off season is here and I'm feeling it. Like I think January I was still in go 49er playoff mode and now I'm like I don't care who's in the Super Bowl. Let's talk rookies. Let's do some scouting. Let's make some trades. So yeah, man, I'm excited, and we're new on this channel. So if you guys don't know, hi, we're Future First Podcast. We do Dynasty forward content. We are over on our own YouTube channel, which is at Future First Pod over there. You can also catch us on the Player Profiler Now Plus network, where we have our pod drops, and also we do a podcast where you can get a Spotify, Apple Pods, wherever you get your podcasts. Where we're on Player Profiler there too as well. So if you're watching on YouTube, make sure to go over to our channel and touch down on that like button. Go for 2 on that subscribe. Drop a comment while you're there. We love engaging with each and every one of you. If you guys don't agree with these values or trades that we think are right or wrong, let us know in the comments below. On top of that, we do roster reviews. So if you want your roster reviewed, we'll go over it. We could get you a startup strategy for a specific league and get it tailored for you to go into it. Trade advice, whatever you need, hit us up at futurefirstpod@gmail.com, and we'll get you guys plugged in on some more information on that there. But other than that, we're going to keep this kind of short today. We only have 30 minutes to kind of get into it. So let's just get right into it. Are you ready, Jose?
Yeah, let's do it, man.
Hope you guys like dubstep. All right, here we are. Here we are in our rookie values. So the idea of this is what we want to do is once we have some rookie rankings and some rookie values to kind of go off of with Player Profiler, KTC, Fantasy Calc, when they get their rookies up there on a weekly basis, we're going to be looking at what the market is doing with them and where their values are adjusting as the off season continues on through here. Since we don't have those values currently right now, we're going to just treat these 101s, 102s, 103s when we look at these trades that we're going to pull up here as these players that we think are kind of consensus for them. And right now we're looking at the 101. I think is pretty commonly Jeremiyah Love here. So I think that's probably where we'll stick today, is focusing on that 101 and giving our thoughts on Jeremiyah Love, when and where we would be buying and selling that 101. We'll give some team context here when we get into each individual trade. And then in future shows, or maybe even today, we might get into like the 102, which gets a little blurry there, but I think in a super flex format, I think it's probably pretty commonly going to be going as Fernando Mendoza right now, especially if he goes 101 to the Raiders there. But Jose's not so sold on that, So what's your feeling on Fernando Mendoza, man, before we jump into these trades?
Yeah, I mean, I think I could see him going anywhere between the 102 to like the 105, depending on especially what the 3-pack of wide receivers do, where do they land, like all those sorts of things. I think right now I would just have him at the closer to the 104, 105 behind the wide receivers, just because I feel like the community and the research I've done, I think I know a bit more about the wide receivers and their game plan and what they might be doing for fantasy, more so than Fernando Mendoza. Obviously, he seems like the clear cut 101, unless the Raiders, I think there's a lot of talk about the Raiders potentially doing something else, like trading away, because they're not one quarterback, and Mendoza doesn't project to be the quarterback that's going to fix all the problems that there are there in Las Vegas. But he does seem like the clear cut 101 for Dynasty in terms of quarterbacks. So I don't hate it. If he's the 102 right now, I could see that in the Superflex rookie draft.
Yeah, the whole thing with the Raiders like trading it away, I feel like that's just like fan fiction, like yeah, let's let Lamar Jackson go to the Raiders because that makes sense. Does it? I don't know, man. Like that'd be cool. I would love to see that, but I don't know that it's gonna happen that way. But nonetheless, I am excited for Clint Kubiak to, at least right now, that's what we're hearing, right? Is he's gonna end up being the head coach for the Raiders. I love what he's doing in Seattle. Well, not really as a Niner fan, but I mean for fantasy, I love what he's doing in Seattle.
Yeah, that divisional game was good, huh? It was a good game.
I don't want to talk about it. All right, let's open up here our trades, and let's just start diving into them. We're over here on Dynasty Daddy, where we typed in, the 101. I think for the settings here, we were looking at Superflex, 2 quarterbacks. We're taking into account half PPR and full PPR, all the tight end premiums from half point to 1 point, 10 and 12 team counts. The starters are set to 10 with a max of 5 assets here, so that we're not dissecting 10 players on each side of this here. So that's just kind of where we're at, and I'll do my best to feed you guys the settings as we go through them on a case by case basis here. But let's lead off with this one here. We have a 2 QB Superflex, 12 by 10 full PPR, half point tight end premium. Drake London was traded away for Jeremiah Love, the 211, and the 2028 third round pick. Where do you feel about that, man?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, I pretty clearly Drake London. I mean, Jeremiah Love, I do think he's going to be a very good running back. I think as soon as he's drafted, obviously so early, but landing spot could catapult him pretty highly, into maybe a next tier. Like if he goes to the Chiefs, if he goes, some good team, like not like Genti that went to the Raiders with behind the bad offensive line with a bad offense. He could be catapulted into maybe another tier of fantasy football type of player. But just on the face of what we know right now, I think Drake London is, a young wide receiver that's shown he can get it done with multiple different quarterbacks. Hopefully Penix is healthy. It was looking very good when he was. So I think I just take Drake London just in terms of dynasty value and going forward, what I think each player can be. Drake London, we already know what he is. So I that's the side I lean on.
Okay. Yeah, I dig that. I think I see a scenario where I'm trading away Drake London here, right? If I'm competing and maybe I'm scared that Michael Penix isn't going to be back, right? And they're talking about releasing or cutting Kirk Cousins, which we haven't talked about too much about, man. But I think that's super interesting. And that kind of goes into when I was saying how funny would it be if Kirk Cousins started for the Vikings this year. That's a possibility. But besides the point, right? I mean, maybe that fear is getting in my head, and I'm like, I don't really feel great about Drake London here. Kyle Pitts is leaving. Who else is going to be there to take the heat off of Drake London in the passing game? So, and then Jeremiah Love, man. He's really good, and I don't know, man. I don't watch a ton of college football, admittedly. This is the time of year where I do put on the rookie tape, though, and I am grinding and getting in. But Jeremiah Love, my brother-in-law is a Notre Dame fan, and so there were, every function we'd go to, the game would be on, and I'd be like, "Who's that running back, Josh?" He's like, "That's Jeremiah Love." I was like, "Oh. He's pretty good, huh?" He's like, "Yeah, he's really good." I was like, "Yeah, it sure looks like it." And go back and you flip on the rookie film, and holy moly, man, this guy, he's him. Like he's got great contact balance. He definitely is very elusive. He's got a lot of bursts. He's got top end speed. He can get away from these guys, and I think they had a really good offensive line, and so he can maybe fed off that a little bit. Maybe he gets into an Ashton Genty type situation where he's behind a battle line and doesn't produce right away. But just as far as like where the landing spots that he could go, like you said, the Chiefs being one of them, the Commanders could be another one that I think would fit really well with him. I'm pretty in on Jeremiyah Love, and I'm actually really sad I don't have a lot of 101s out there. So I guess I'm making a case of where I could see trading Drake London away to get the 101 here. If I'm rebuilding, yeah, I'm gonna trade away my 101 and I'm gonna go get Drake London. That feels really good, I think, at a good price. So I think this is a pretty fair trade on both sides of it. But in a vacuum, I'll take Drake London just because I think wide receivers have the longer shelf life here and are more secure assets moving forward.
Yeah, 100%.
Cool. All right, man. Let's get into another one here. How about this one? The 101 for the 102. No, just that's not a real trade. What is going on, you guys? This one we kind of talked about a little bit. The Breece Hall or Jeremiyah Love and Marvin Mims.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I think that's just Jeremiyah Love, right? I think younger player, prospect coming out of school. I think Jeremiyah Love is a better one. Brees Hall definitely, he's somebody on our other channel we've talked quite extensively about. But in terms of just the potential there and the youth, Marvin Mims to me is not really an asset. I'm like, it's just a throw in. The guy just maybe he's a Broncos fan, who knows? But I think I easily take Jeremiyah Love there in most, in all situations, just based on youth and what you could then turn that 101 into in 2 months, right? Like right now, I feel like the 101 is still not even close to the hype, right? Like there's hype, there's a lot of people excited. I think once Jeremiyah Love tests, and especially if he gets drafted to a really good position, you can maybe turn around and take that 101 and go, I don't know, big game hunting into, the Gibbs, Bijans like of the world. Maybe not straight up, but, into that sort of process.
Take a good chunk out of it.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's good process if you're the Brees Hall manager to trade for the 101 in this situation.
Yeah, this is such a weird trade, right? Because Marvin Mims is nothing in this format. It's a super flex 10 by 10, full PPR half point premium. So Marvin Mims is not hitting your lineup unless someone is like really in on Marvin Mims, which man, get me out of that Denver wide receiving core as fast as possible. I want nothing to do with Broncos wide receivers from here on out. Sean Payton hates fantasy players, and I've fallen for that trap too many times. Not this year. I want nothing to do with them. So really, this is just like Jeremiyah Love for Brees Hall, and I'm trying to imagine why someone would want to do that. Maybe they're worried Jeremiyah Love gets a bad landing spot. But let's be honest, man. It's like Brees Hall on the Jets. I don't know where the rest of you guys are at. Obviously, Brees Hall needs a contract this year. He's a free agent in the offseason. I'm still under the belief that is not happening. I think they're going to franchise tag him. So for me, when I think about Brees Hall, I'm thinking about him in a prison cell in New York and just sitting, waiting for that day where he can go and get his bag. And I bet you anything, it's going to be in division to the Bills. He's on the Saquon Barkley track, and he'll win a Super Bowl with Josh Allen and the Bills like 2 years from now. I'm calling it now. So yeah, man, this is just weird. Like it's Jeremiyah Love all day, I feel like, and it's not even close. Brees Hall's a stud, but I don't know. Maybe he does go somewhere. Maybe he goes to the Chiefs, and we're all eating. Maybe it's just me. I'm eating crow, and it's not a good feeling for me. But okay, I think we kind of beat that one into the dirt. Do you have any more you want to say on it?
No, let's look at another one.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. How about this is I guess a really similar to the one we did before that. Let me know if anything jumps out to you here.
I mean that one with it was like 3 picks goes one more up. I think it was like the 101 and then 3 first coming back. It looked like maybe you scrolled too fast. I don't
Oh
remember.
no, is it this one down here? This one?
Um,
No, Roma Dunze, Jeremiah Love,
we can
Shuck
talk about it.
for a 26 first and a 27 first. It's weird that we have the 26 101 on the left, and then on the right side we just have a 2026 round one with no. I guess that maybe they set the draft order for like the top guys, and maybe there's like a lottery. So let's just assume that's like a back end 2026 first there.
Yeah, I mean, it's on paper, it feels very lopsided. I think depending on what you believe on in Shuck, right? I mean, we've been talking about, and I'm sure a lot of people have been looking at the 2027 class, right, as a potentially very, very good one. So depending on where that could land, just on the face of it, though, in two quarterback, I don't know how much even there Tyler Shuck moves the needle. I think it's just Odunze and Love for me. I guess if you are bought into Tyler Shuck and think he's going to be, a starter and a good starter for the foreseeable future, I could see somewhere where this kind of makes sense if those picks are projected to not be late round picks that you would make this trade.
Let's assume this 2027 is like a high early first, right? I think that kind of would make a difference here, given what the sentiment is on that 27 class, right? So let's say that this is like the projected 101, 102. Like, is that moving any needles for you here, or is it still Rome and Love?
Yeah, I mean, I think in that scenario, you're pretty much swapping the 26 101 for the 27 101 102, and then Shuck in another first for a Dunze. I feel like that would make it pretty enticing, especially if you're still a ways away. That a Jeremiah Love isn't really doing much for you. Maybe you don't have quarterbacks, and you're looking into the future for next season. I do think there'll be a better player in those early picks next year than Jeremiah Love, like at least another tier above in terms of fantasy football assets. So I think in that situation that would make sense, right? Especially for a rebuilder that's still probably another year out, pushing the can down the road and
Mm-hmm.
getting one pick into two picks, moving off of Dunze. Maybe you haven't been sold in what you saw in the Ben Johnson, all the injuries. He clearly this year he did not have a good season, as a lot of people, us included, were hoping and thinking he would. So yeah, under those circumstances, putting that kind of lens on it, I think I could side with the picks into the future and Shuck.
Yeah, I think that's pretty good analysis. I do like that thought process there where you can kind of move off the 101 to get into an early 27 first. Um, I mean the price of Roma Dunze for Shuck in a first, that makes me nervous. I'm not gonna lie. I don't love the idea, but I understand the thirst for these 27 firsts right now. And if that's the plan for the rebuild, is to like rebuild through that 2027 draft, then sometimes you got to do gross things, and you can maybe flip Tyler Shuck in season, or in the preseason to get into something else if that's the plan there. Okay, let's go back up and try and find that first one that you were talking about here. Oh, here we go. That's an interesting one, right? Am I on base there? So we got the 105, the 110, and the 109 for the 101 straight up in a 2 QB 12 by 10 half PPR half point tight end premium.
Yeah, I mean, so super flex, right? So somewhere in there, you're probably looking at Mendoza, right? If we wanted to just kind of put some names to this, maybe you're looking at Jonah Coleman in the 109, 110, maybe that might be a little bit late. And then you guys, you have guys like Amari Cooper, Elijah Surratt, Jadarian Price. Like those are all kind of names that I would expect to be towards the back end of the first. All for Jeremiah Love. I feel like this is the type of move where if you do believe that this rookie class is going to be a little bit more depth and a little bit better players towards the back end of the first round, I think it's a situation where you're at right where I think the cutoff is, which is the 105, right? Especially if you need a quarterback and Mendoza falls. This is a great way, I think, if you're a rebuilder to kind of jumpstart your rebuild. Now you got three rookies. And maybe those picks, when you get on the clock, become more valuable. Doing a trade like this right now feels really risky. I feel like you're banking on some of these players that are maybe not so well known, don't have a lot of cachet in fantasy circles right now to make a jump, get good landing spots, test good at the combine. And you're giving up the one guy that, everybody's in love with for three guys that, depending on how you view the class, may be from okay fantasy football players to good fantasy football players. It's definitely a risk. I do think it's the type that you need to do maybe now. I don't know if somebody's going to pay this in 2 months when all these landing spots and the class maybe looks way better than it does now. I think if sentiment that's permeating in the fantasy football community right now about the class continues, then it's still something you could do in a couple months, but it's definitely a risk, right? Like I don't think that it's a smash on either side. So I guess those are always the best trades, that it makes both sides a little bit uneasy. Like, it's a big gamble.
No, yeah, that's a good point here. I'm curious if I bring up the doc here, can you? Yeah, you can still see it. Okay, so we're looking at the 105, one of those top end wide receivers. I think right is going at the 105 there. Like you said, maybe you get a Fernando Mendoza, and then at the 110, the 109, maybe you get Kenyon Sadiq, and another one. So this is kind of what I'm imagining happening here, right? The 105 is someone who's trying to exit a rebuild, right? Like that's their pick, and they feel like they have some pretty good pieces here. Somehow they acquired, the 110 and the 109 by selling off some assets to some contenders, and they're like, okay, I feel like I'm only like one piece away here from really competing next year, but I don't believe in this class. I really just want to go get the sure thing and Jeremiyah Love and kind of feel good rolling into this 2026 season. And then obviously the person who's got the 101, they're trash. They're just not good, man. They've been doing this dynasty thing for a long time, and it's not really their game. No, I don't know. Maybe they're actually really good, and they tanked properly, and they're getting into 3 picks here, which like I said, I mean, we just got done with our other podcast here, where I think like come April we're gonna be looking at like the tier break at like the 109. So I think getting into that 105, 109 for the 101, it's really hard to pass up 3 first, for a single 101. I don't think that happens in too many draft years here. But I mean, Jeremiyah Love is like the one almost sure thing, it feels like, in this year. But I mean, we don't even know where he's landing yet either, too. So like that's what kind of feels like a big gamble here. And I don't know. I do believe in a lot of these wide receivers, and I really do like Kenyon Sadiq. And if Mendoza can fall to the 105, this feels like a really good deal for that 101. I think it makes sense if I'm a big rebuilder, just to take that package of picks and run.
Yeah, I mean, I think if the class was not nearly as if people weren't as negative on the class, I mean, you could be taking these 3 picks and going to get, a player that's well more established, that's in the top 3 to 4 at running back, right? Like if you went to, like we were talking about the Gibbs, Jahmyr Gibbs or Bijan Owner, or whoever, like 3 firsts is pretty enticing, and I think that's where a lot of people value those kind of high-end players anyways, right? So 3 firsts. So I definitely can see it. I think, like I said, it's a big risk either way, but I think it's a pretty entertaining trade to be doing in February, or I guess this was a couple of days ago, so January.
Yeah. Okay, cool. No, that was a good one. I'm glad you saw that one. How about this one? Another Tyler Shuck one involved in this one. So we have Tyler Shuck, the 107, and Jeremiyah Love. I guess if we're talking strictly rookies here, right? The 107 being who? I'm sorry, KDC. Can you give me?
Yeah. What is it, Kadamian? Man, what was I put that in there and I was like, oh, I'll remember who that was. Concepcion. It's like Katie
Okay.
Concepcion.
Okay, yeah. That makes sense now. All right.
Yeah, we're making that thing happen here on RookieHQ. That's KDC Concepcion, the wide receiver.
Not to be confused with Keep Trade Cut.
Well, that's KTC, so definitely not to be confused with them.
All right, we have Jeremiyah Love, KDC and Tyler Shuck going for the hotness right now. JSN and Superflex 12 by 10 full PPR half tight end premium. I know you love JSN. Are you making this trade though? That's a lot.
Um, yeah, I mean, I think I'm on the the package side, and also that
Ooh.
should have been KCC. That's probably maybe why it made less sense.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
that makes more sense.
You're getting a quarterback, a startable quarterback. I believe Tyler Shuck give me a decent QB2, the 101, 107. I think it's fair price for Jackson Smith and Jace, but it's probably like three first plus, right? Like Tyler Shuck, I think, is worth more than one first. So you're looking at three firsts, one of them being the 101. That's kind of what we were talking about, right? With that package of picks. These are the type of players that you can get into. So I think it's fair value. I think it
Mm,
just always depends on where your team is. Like you have multiple quarterbacks. It's hard for me to think that you're in that situation if you have the 101, but maybe you're one of those, dynasty teams that made a good trade and you ended up with the 101 from a bad team, even though you're still a good team. So if you're a contender or you're not rebuilding, I can see why you would go out and get JSN. It's always hard to go acquire the best player in fantasy for their highest
yeah,
price that they may ever
exactly.
be, right? I think the only guy that might be more expensive right now would be maybe Puka or like I guess maybe Jamar Chase would still be up there, but it's always hard to go trade for these guys when they've had the breakout season because you're paying, you need JSN to remain a top five wide receiver in Dynasty and his production to be top five for this type of trade to play off. Otherwise, you're kind of overpaying.
Yeah, I think this is actually like a really smart move from the JSN owner. Like you said, like the package probably seems pretty good, especially if Clinton Kubiak is leaving. Like we've seen how bad it can be without that kind of system installed there for JSN. So it's hard to deny the talent, but you do need to consider all the peripherals that go into that production that we just saw from him with something crazy like a 30% target share or something, right? I think like for the first 6 weeks of the season, he was hovering right around 40 to 50%. Yeah, and I mean, obviously, I think if you have JSN, you were contending more than likely, and so now you're getting into Jeremiah Love, probably a wide receiver like Concepcion at the 107, where you can kind of replace JSN to some extent, right? Maybe you get 60, 70% of him, and then you're netting a quarterback, Tyler Shuck, in a 2 QB team or 2 QB league. So yeah, that probably feels pretty good. Getting off of JSN for that price there. Okay, let's do one more before we hit the outro here. Maybe a quick one. Let me know if something catches your eye. Well, let's do this one, man. This is a package of players here and a pick. So we have Lad McConkey, Zay Flowers, the 202 for Jeremiah Love here. And this is in a 2 QB 12 by 10 full PPR 7.75 tight end premium.
I mean, on just on the face value, I feel like I want the 101, but looking at the settings, you have a full PPR. So I can kind of see where Zay Flowers and Lad McConkey kind of get a bump, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're hoping that the Chargers, right, bringing in McDaniel, having a healthy offensive line, healthy Justin Herbert, that Lad McConkey kind of return to what he was before this season. Zay Flowers, I think, is always kind of going to be Zay Flowers. It's a big change in Baltimore, but I think unless they drafted somebody, he's probably still the top wide receiver there. So I don't hate it. It's weird because I've felt over the last season that I've had a Lad McConkey like kind of blinders or like bias. Like I've never really been into him, and then he didn't have a good season, so it kind of felt like confirmation bias. So I don't know if I'm just too low on Lad McConkey. Like as I was talking about it, I think I talked myself out of it, even though I was talking for the package side. I'm like, I think I just want Jeremiah Love. Like, maybe.
I'm
Uh,
glad you ended that way because I'm like smash Jeremiah Love here.
okay,
That
okay.
yeah, that feels pretty cheap to get into him at that price. But I do see what you're saying, right? With the full PPR, it's still only start 10, right? So I mean, like this just seems like a nightmare of a start sit decision. Like, who am I going to start this week? Lad McConkey or Zay Flowers, right? Like, I'm instead of just plugging in Jeremiah Love like into, my running back or flex spot, like now I have to make a decision between these two guys. I don't know. Maybe they're hoping Mike McDaniels makes a big change over there in LA and Ladd McConkey returns to form, but I don't know, man. We've talked a lot about JJ Zacharias and what he did on that the death of the wide receiver too, and how slot receivers are kind of dying as a position in the NFL here. So that kind of just makes me feel like I might and should be out on Ladd McConkey here. It doesn't feel good because I did draft him in one of my leagues, and he got me to a title, but that's the way of Dynasty sometimes. And even as good as he is, there's a lot of pieces in that offense he has to contend with for targets and production. So yeah, man, smash Jeremiah Love on that one, I think. All right,
Yeah, man.
let's do this. Thank you guys for sticking with us for the first round here on RookieHQ. Hopefully you guys like what we did. We'll come back with you guys on a weekly basis, and we'll do similar things, talking about different players in here. And as like we said, as we get these values of where these rookies are coming in at, we'll start keeping you guys updated on the market value of where these rookies are, giving you pluses and minuses where they're moving on a week-to-week basis. But hey, it's fun hanging out with you guys. Check us out on our page, and I'll leave Jose to plug the rest.
Yep. Thank you, player, for having us on here. RookieHQ. Thank you guys for having us. Catch us at Future First Pod, wherever you get your podcasts, YouTube, like, subscribe, the whole thing. And we're out.
Peace.